This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
And also recently, I seen the movie Fences, starring Denzel Washington and Viola Davis, who recently will be the first person next year on January 5th, 2017 to get a Hollywood star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Congratulations to her, well earned, very beautiful and talented sister. And it was an adaptation, I think it was the first adaptation of one of August Wilson's 10 plays. August Wilson was like, he was a phenomenal playwright, a black playwright from Pittsburgh. He grew up on the Hill District. And all 10 of his plays are set in the 20th century. One for each decade of the 20th century, with the last one being Radio Golf. And he passed away within like 10, 11 years. So he didn't live to see one of his plays adapted for the big screen. But I think Denzel and Viola and the supporting cast did a phenomenal job. I think the brother who played Gabe, Bubba, you know, Bubba from Forrest Gump, Bubba Gump, Shrimp, Bubba Gump. He did a hell of a job playing Gabe, who was Denzel, the lead character's brother, who was a disabled veteran. Did a phenomenal job playing that. I think everybody should see that movie. It is award worthy. Any award, any acknowledgement it should get, you know, not just Oscar worthy. I mean, black folks need to get away from that, or it's Oscar worthy. Okay, no, it's just worthy. It's good cinema, great acting, great storytelling. And I'll suggest everybody and anybody who loves theater, who loves great acting and a great movie, well done from all ends, from all spectrums, should go see this movie. But what I want to talk about in that movie is how it supports polygamy. You know, the movie and the play, it kind of hints at polygamy. And I think people should see that, and it should be discussed, especially among the black community, the issue of polygamy. I know it's very much a controversial and a hotbed issue, but it needs to be discussed because the movie brings it up in an interesting way. Where, you know, a spoiler alert, you know, if you read the play or seen the play, it's going to be a spoiler alert, you know. So what I'm saying is that the character Denzel plays, he started having a relationship on the side, get the woman pregnant, and tells his wife about it. Very powerful scene that ensues after that. Very powerful, award-worthy scene by Viola Davis. Start supporting the baby. Like he told his wife, look, I got this woman pregnant. She's gonna have my child. I'm gonna start supporting the baby and the woman. Woman dies in childbirth. Denzel come home with the baby. Asks his wife, who just raised a son for him for the last 18 years, to raise this baby that ain't even hers. After the mom passed away, the biological mom. So interesting scene, but what I say all this to say is that black men have been having families on the side for generations upon generations. The reason why I bring that up is because I think polygamy should be supported and acknowledged by the black community. I think it's very much needed. It's been going on forever. What bothers me is the lies and the deception that comes along when you play those games of having families on the side and not letting everybody know each other. Because you get into all types of moral messiness. Like, you know, you could be dating somebody who's actually your sister or brother, don't even know it, for example. And also the fact when it comes to when that patriarch dies and has the funeral, and there are 2 or 3 people or 2 or 3 families, they're out there, they say that, hey, this is my daddy, what you doing here? No, you can have a family that lives next door, across the street, across town, across the state, across the country, or even across the world. And it's like, you know, it shouldn't even be taboo right now at this point, because there are about 3 black American women to every black American man. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the reasons, you look at prison, and the person that a lot of black women voted for in the last election cycle, Hillary, her husband, President Bill Clinton, helped to usher in the era where they started locking up all these black people, especially black men, because of the private prison industry boom during his presidency. there were more black men locked up under Bill Clinton than any president in the history of the United States. And yet he's so-called first black president. So anyway, I guess black self-hate is very much institutionalized and real. But anyway, I bring all of this to say that black women are sharing their man anyway. Like, I actually talked to black women across the country, and they say they don't mind sharing their man as long as he take care of his priorities, his home. And you know, like one sister told me, she said hoes get laid. I mean, excuse me, hoes get paid while bitches get played. She said hoes get paid while bitches get played. And a lot of sisters I talked to, some of them single, they are bitter about the hoes winning. But once you learn from the hoes playbook and see why she winning, and try to make that plan, try to adjust it to whatever your comfortability or whatever your, you know, if you want a man, I'm just saying. I know a lot of people, I read people comments and stuff like that, and you know, people say this is sick and all this stuff. I think it's sick to have kids and put them in a position where they cannot be taken care of and later become thriving and productive adults. I think that's very sick, be honest with you. It takes a village, okay? You know, polygamy's in the Bible. All you church-going black women that got a problem, it's in the Bible, it's biblical. You know, a lot of the so-called biblical greats had more than one wife, okay? I don't see the big deal of it is. I really don't, because people are already doing it. All I want to make it is this is the era of transparency. The reason why a lot of young black people are not going to church, because they are tired of all the hypocrites. Now, what makes you a hypocrite is not being contradictory, because being a human is complex. You know, but it's this thing about don't do as I do, but do as I say bullshit. That shit is played out. Because if you don't have the discipline to do what you say and be a person of your word, how the hell you think I'm gonna respect your word? Your word don't have any weight. It don't have anything of authenticity or respect or whatever. So I say all this to say, just be honest with people. I would say the men and women, because polyandry is on the table too, because you got black women having kids by several different men. It goes all the way around, and this is a part of slavery too. The trauma from slavery, when they had the breeding farms, the sex farms, where you had black men screwing the women in his family, like, you know, motherfuckers. You know, he fucking his mama, his aunt, his sister, cousin, whatever. This is all part of slavery. See, we all kind of F-ups in this system, and yet we still want to be a part of the system. That's how messed up we are as a people. We want, you know, like Malcolm said, only a fool let their enemies be the primary educators of their children. So this is where we at right now as black people. We are in this situation where we want the bad as well as the good, as College Wilson said. We want to do the bad as well as the good that the white folks got. We want to emulate the bad as well as the good. We don't know how to separate the two. Just like the case of, we said we want integration, but what we're really doing is assimilation. Integration is not the issue when you know thyself, because knowing thyself means you respect thyself, you know where you come from, you know your culture, you know your heritage, you know your mother tongue. But this assimilation crap is mean you want to just erase your whole identity, erase your roots, erase your background, erase your heritage. So you have no leverage in a system that thrives off of groupthink and group politics. Everybody that's making this system work in their favor, they know their mother tongue, they know their heritage, they know their culture. You understand? Because you got to invest in your group, put your group first. But black folks are the only group of people in this system. They want to put everybody else's interests and needs first besides our own. Self-preservation is the #1 law of nature. So what I'm saying with the polygamy piece, to tie it all in, we must be able to be fruitful and multiply. We must be able to reproduce. We must also be able to protect our families, provide institutional support, emotional support, spiritual support, all that stuff. Because people keep on thinking that the polygamy thing is a low vibration thing. It's all about, you know, I'm a fuck as many women I want to fuck. For some, yes, you always gonna have some exceptions. But what I'm leaning towards, what I'm talking about, is the fact that we need black men as well as black women in the homes being positive examples to their children. These children deserve a foundation of knowledge of self-teachings. We gotta control our educational curriculums. We gotta control our economics. And people can say, keep on saying, with these group of black people, Brother Ron, we can't do it with these group of black people. You don't know who the hell you are, don't you? I'm standing in a cemetery full of black men and probably some women and children buried in a mass grave in different cemetery plots who were massacred. And yet I'm here in 2016. That happened in 1864. They've been trying for generations to suppress and get rid of black people. It have always backfired. More people on welfare are not black people. Most people on welfare are white folks. White folks invented welfare to help white people. White folks invented welfare to help white people. Black folks been catching hell and never got the help that we need. And we still find ways to survive and in some cases even thrive, okay? Affirmative action was created for white women. White women benefited more from affirmative action than any group. And yet they're using white women to destroy affirmative action for everybody else. The GI Bill, the greatest affirmative action policy piece in the history of this country, was created for white GIs, white veterans. Imagine if black veterans had the same access to the GI Bill as the white veterans. Imagine how black wealth, how black America would look today if we were allowed to own stuff. We were allowed to create businesses for ourselves, to do for self. We never had a point in this country where we were left alone in order to thrive, in order to make it work without them intervening, and without them using terrorist tactics of the state, white supremacist terrorist tactics to undermine black progress and black success. Yes, we had our greatest success in some cases during Jim Crow, when they forced us to live, work, worship, and all that stuff together in our community. When we had control of our schools, you know what I'm saying? When we had teachers that cared about the welfare and the mind of the children, that lift them up, that taught them knowledge of self, that encouraged them, that gave them their emotional and spiritual support. When we had control of these things, we created some phenomenal things. But now in 2016, you got people graduate from high school that can't even read. You had folks come out of slavery. One of the first things they were trying to do was get an education on how to read, as well as find their family members. Black family always been important. Sojourner Truth, the eloquent, brilliant Sojourner Truth, very opposing sister, she tried to start a family over and over again because white supremacy, racism broke up a family every time, but she understood the importance of family. Harriet Tubman, Mother Harriet Tubman understood or overstood the importance of family. All these people, you know, Denmark Vesey, saving up money, trying to buy his folks out of slavery. You know, these people understood that when you have the black man, woman, and child together, that's the real holy trinity. This is when you do paradigm shifts. So this is what I'm talking about, the polygamy thing, is that we need more black men and women present in our children's lives. We need to control their education, their economics, and the spiritual, all that stuff. I'm saying, to me, polygamy is not about, you know, the man is up here, the woman down here. We equal partnership. A marriage is a big financial institution. It's a business with benefits. Just like 501c3s. Black folks approach a nonprofit 501c3 as a charity piece, as a donation piece. White folks look at 501c3s as a money-making machine. The NFL for a long time was a nonprofit. Now it's a for-profit. But you gotta think about it. You got a business full of billionaires and millionaires as nonprofit. There's a website called Charity Navigator. You should go to Charity Navigator. Because by law, nonprofits must disclose their financial dealings and situation with the public, because they're nonprofits. They tax exempt, so the public has the right to know where their donation dollars and how they spend their money goes. So I say all this to say is that you look on Charity Navigator. There was a guy, a Jewish guy, used to work for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. At the SCLC at the national headquarters in Atlanta. He was from L.A. I had him on my show, and it's some years ago when I first started doing podcasting. And he told me, Brother Ron, you should check out Charity Navigator and look at the Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't know if a lot of y'all are familiar with the Southern Poverty Law Center, but they are the ones that come up with their hate group lists every year. Like, you know, like CNN, a lot of these fake news media outlets, they reference, well, the Southern Poverty Law Center says that so-and-so group is a hate group. So this is the organization that come out with the hate group list. The actual started, Morris Dees was a founder. He was a lawyer for a black woman whose son was lynched, I believe in Mobile, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. It was some part of Alabama where he was lynched. He was found lynched in front of his house. They caught the white man who did it. I think one of the white men was electrocuted, got capital punishment. I don't know if it was electrocution on gas chamber, but anyway, they sued the Klan organization down there, a very powerful Klan organization down there, the Christian terrorist group, which is protected by the state. That's another show. But they sued them, and she was able to get the property of the United Klan, whatever. And so this guy, his jump stop. Anyway, he started his organization. So he told me to look it up. So I looked up Southern Poverty Law Center at the Charity Navigator. Just Google it up. And they are far from broke. They are far from being impoverished, because their endowment is somewhere like almost 300 million the last time I checked. Maybe like 230 million to 300 million. Morris Dees and his friend who runs, I guess he was the president, they both making 6 figures, close to 300,000 a year in salary off of that. We're not talking about speaking fees, books and movies and stuff like that. We're talking about just base salary. They're both making close to $300,000 a year. So yeah, so nonprofits are big business, but it's our mentality, our mindset. You know, like when people say that's the projects, that's the ghetto. How come when they knock down the projects and build condominiums, now is high scale? You know, it's very valuable real estate, but yet they can move the people that lived in projects for generations to the suburbs, and then that becomes the ghetto. See, it ain't where you're from, it's where you at mentally. It ain't where you're from, it's where you at. It's your mind. If you got a poverty mindset, then everywhere you see and everywhere you look, you just manifest poverty. It's like the brother said from Kansas City, Bernard Powell, the brother from Bernard Powell, who was a Black Power martyr. He was like on the same level as a Fred Hampton singer in Chicago. He said, the ghetto or gold mine, the choice is yours. It's the ghetto or gold mine, the choice is yours. This is your life, this is your movie, it's what you make of it. So I say all this to say, with all this beefing and stuff going on, and all this other stuff, we got to get our act together, black people. And in terms of, like, you know, black folks get mad at certain black figures that we admire and respect, and, you know, like Kanye West and Jim Brown, all them meeting with Donald Trump, I think it's silly. I really do think it's silly, black people, that we get mad over some folks meeting to talk. This show you how infantile we are in this period. We're very much in a Peter Pan complex, arrested development, where we're not allowed to be grown men and women. We think like child. We think like children. We act like children, and we get these type of results. So I know a lot of black folks scared. If you're scared, say you're scared. And if you're scared, go to church. If you're scared, say you're scared. And if you're scared, go to church. So I don't see no problem with Jim Brown them meeting, because like Whitney Young, the former president of the Urban League, part of the Big Six of the Civil Rights era, he met with Lyndon B. Johnson and John F. Kennedy to get money for the Urban League to help black people. But also he met with Richard Nixon. And although he was hesitant himself to meet with Richard Nixon, he put on a presentation that impressed Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon gave him $28 million for the Urban League. Way more money than Johnson and Kennedy ever gave him. And a documentary you should look at is called A Power Broker, about Whitney Young, produced by his niece. And I think Whitney Young is a very interesting person to study in this time in our history. Same thing with Mary McLeod Bethune, a very brilliant sister from South Carolina. Actually, on her birthday, July 10th of last year, they lowered the Confederate flag from the state capitol. That was her birthday, but no fake news outlet reported that. See, that's why it's so important to have this knowledge of self, black history. Know thyself, be thyself, do for self. We need that mantra right now in this community. So, study Mary McLeod Bethune, who started Bethune-Cookman College down in Daytona, Florida, with just like maybe $1.50, $1.75 in the bank. Started a institution with just a little bit under $2 in a dream. So we need to study the ancestors, because the ancestors are speaking. They are back. People keep on talking, we need to bring so-and-so back. They never left. They are already here. The ancestors are speaking. It's our time, black folks. Now's the time. Seize the moment in this Trump geist. In this Trump geist, we need to seize the moment. So yeah. So see also Fences and Gabe. I like to say the brother who did Gabe also did Bubblegum. I can't pronounce his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm calling Mike, you know, for now. I gotta learn how to pronounce his name. So With that said, thank you, family, for listening to me babble and rabble along. In the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.